passing.
That's right.
Because
yeah.
there is that thought that, like, this is one of the things that comes up now all the time. And we talked about this on CNN. We're saying that there's a whole financed and backed right-wing ecosystem that's created these podcasts.
Where's
like,
my check?
Well, this is just stupidity. This is the problem where when you look at some conspiracies, you think, oh, well, that applies to
Well, of
all
course.
things.
Yeah.
That no, there's actually some things that are organic for some weird reason.
What I think we'll see, the first thing after the election is, we need a Joe Rogan on the left. We need a Joe Rogan. Well, guys, you basically had a Joe Rogan on the left, but you were so crazy that Joe started to think right.
They didn't want me. That was the thing. Like,
they didn't want you?
But that's all the psyop working against them. Because in the past, they could take someone like me and demonize them, and it would be effective. And they could just remove you from the airwaves.
Right.
And then remove you as a problem because you're not playing by the rules. But now people go, oh, you know what? I think he's the one who's actually telling the truth. Let's stop listening to them. And so then CNN crashes, and then faith in mainstream media crashes, and faith in podcasts rises.
I think what we'll see, though, is, and it may come from YouTube, we'll probably see them try to hype someone up to become the Joe Rogan of the left.
Oh, they're already definitely doing that. But
who do
the
you
thing
think it is?
I don't care. Who gives a fuck? Let them try.
All right.
But the thing is, it's not going to work unless that person's authentic. Because
without authenticity, it doesn't
if you
work.
hear a person long enough, you know what the fuck they're really saying. You know whether or not.
That's right.
I'm wrong all the time. You might not agree with me. That's all great, but I'm not going to lie. And that's the difference.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people are just propagandists. And they're also trying to make an argument for something without looking at the other side, which instantaneously I know now you're propagandizing. Now you're not. Now you're bullshitting me. I always try to look at the other side of everything.
I know you do.
As a human, I think it's an important quality. As a person who's like broadcasting to millions of people, it's a very important quality. But it's an important quality for human beings. Like, know why you think about something.
Good morning, Owasso. This is Chad with Owasso Live, and this is the Morning Loop. Well, if you're watching this one, you're either watching it live right now, or when the time I premiere this one on YouTube, I will be out in the field for like 2 weeks doing Army stuff. So this is the last video you'll probably see for a while. I might be able to upload one or two more later, but we'll see. It depends on if I have time or not. But as you can see, the left has a Joe Rogan problem as per usual. And now they're going to be dumping $20 million to try to win back young men, proving that the Democratic Party needs men after all. So after all their stuff about only trying to go after equity, diversity, and all this fun stuff. But as you can see from the thing, Democrats need a man, and we've got a whole bunch to get into today. So let's just go ahead and get into this. But speaking of what just happened in that first video, is, they don't like Joe Rogan, because what does Joe Rogan represent? He's like your average, everyday dude. And the problem was he was a lefty. He definitely leaned left. He was a pro-Bernie guy. He only turned around and became a Trump supporter in this last election. And that's only because of Elon Musk, I believe. And look at him. But he represents everything that the left hates. He's an MMA commentator. He works out. He hunts. He goes on trips. He likes fighting and working out and all this. The left hates that stuff. The left for years has been saying that, the working class is dumb, and that's who all those things appeal to. Like, MMA is one of the most popular up-and-coming sports to this day now. Everyone watches MMA or mixed martial arts, UFC or whatever. Average dudes, especially guys who are more like country-esque, are all hunters. I mean, the left hates all those things because they're all about nature, preserving nature. They don't like violence, and they tried to they think that working out is fat shaming people. So the left, he's literally like a poster child of what the left hates. That's why they didn't want Joe Rogan. That's the whole point. Is like, and trying to win back men is like the fact that they have to donate $20 million into a study of what young men like is ridiculous. Young men like girls, video games, sports, all the stuff that they've been against for years now. It's like it doesn't take much to figure out what guys are into. Just talk to them. So the problem is you're talking to liberal men who are like the guys in this picture. They're trans, they're queer, LGBTQ, that's not your average everyday man. Gays don't even barely make up like a percentage of the population, like maybe 2-3% of the population. You've been pandering to them for so long, that all these minority and DEI groups for so long, that you've forgotten who your base is. It's the working man. The Democrats were the blue collar class working man union guy job type voter. That's who they were. They've lost them. Those people are Republicans now. They lost the union vote. But we'll get into a bunch of the stuff that's going on here. We'll start with this article here from the Daily Mail. Democrats roasted over 20 million plot to win over young male voters. You can't buy authenticity. Critics have slammed Democrats for an inauthentic $20 million plan to study the syntax used by young men to win their votes. Democrats have been baffled on why young male voters are abandoning the party after demographics swung to the right for Donald Trump in November election. Looking ahead to 2026 midterms and the next presidential election, Democrats are strategizing on how to win back young male voters after the Trump campaign successfully harnessed names online, including Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn. And yes, that's the other thing too, is like, that's why he won. Trump would go on all of these podcast shows, these online internet podcast show hosts who are way more popular than all the mainstream news people. The only reason that like CNN is as popular as it is because all the airports play CNN. That's the only reason they're probably still up there in those higher spots in all the ratios. And Fox News has overtaken them, I'm pretty sure. And Fox News isn't even that good compared to most of these people that you're watching online. And two, going on long form talking content where you can't get out of a situation, where you can't just like have a commentator or one of your staffers save you from a question. Trump literally went on for 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours with Joe Rogan, uninterrupted. Kamala Harris refused to do that, and there's no Democrats that want to do that. I mean, look at Gavin Newsom when he brings on conservatives. He looks like a fool when he brings on people like Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon. Those are the only two ones that got like a crap ton of views on his. And then Michelle Obama's podcast, that's not doing too hot. She's not getting a lot of ratings. I mean, she's got more than me, but I mean, I'm just a small nobody YouTuber. She's supposedly the most popular first lady ever. And she's barely breaking like tens of thousands of views. So they're trying to find their version of Joe Rogan, but they're failing miserably. One project obtained by the New York Times released a $20 million plan code to name SAM, short for Speaking with American Men, a strategic plan and a promised investment to study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and virality in these spaces. The plan recommends buying advertisements in video games and noted above all, we must shift from a moralizing tone. Democrats roasted online for the plan, with critics slamming the party for lacking authenticity in their approach. Yeah, and this is proof that you can't just throw money at a problem and expect it to get fixed. But that's kind of the Democratic motto. It's like, we just need more funding and we could get it done. It's like, no, it's not more funding. More funding is hardly ever the answer. Democrats were roasted online for this plan, with critics slamming the party for lacking authenticity in pros. Boy, are they going to be sore when they discover that you can't emulate or buy authenticity, one person said. These people need to actually talk to young men instead of assuming what they like or think, said another. 100% true. Cringe fest, consultants doing consulting things. They need to talk to voters rather than analyzing their language or finding different ways to spend money. Just start a dialogue and listen. Authenticity is an antidote here, said a third. What happened to being authentic? They really don't get it, the fourth person said. Someone should really tell them about authenticity, LOL, added a fifth. Another suggested that idea of spending millions on to study young men, or rather than asking them to show the party is out of touch. Or they could actually listen to them and respond to their concerns. But no, one person said, it's not their words, it's the results of their policies that are turning young men away, said a second person. How about they just stop hating men? That might work, but nah. Spend $20 million to try to manipulate them instead. These people are roasting them hard. This is good. If you are advertising in video games, you will 100% lose that audience, said another. This really goes to show you that they've lost the plot entirely, a fourth said. Yeah, I was like, nobody likes to see ads on. We don't like to see ads in our YouTube videos, much less video games. That's really going to tick people off when we see your ad before we can play our game or whatever it happens to be. Dems are doing everything possible to avoid eating a cheeseburger and talking about free markets. Yeah, this is probably all those, all the little quotes right here that have been on Twitter. Hilarious. Trump pulled off an astounding political comeback to regain the White House after being declared the winner of the 2024 presidential election. More than half of the male voters under the age of 30 supported Trump in November and shifted from 2020 when Joe Biden won a similar share against Trump. About 6 in 10 young white men voted for Trump, but Republican leaders are also pulled significantly numbers from the Hispanic and young black men who previously were supportive of Democrats. He framed much of his campaign as a pitch to men who felt scorned by the country's economic and cultural political system. Trump saw support from the demographic who had previously supported Barack Obama, but have now grown frustrated with the political system. Trump's campaign also engaged in non-traditional methods of engagement with young men through popular shows such as Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn. Yep. And those were long-form content. Very long-form content. That you can't hide or duck out of an evaded question in this like Kamala Harris did and Joe Biden did in all of their interviews. Short little news interview where they can clip it and edit it and take stuff and move it around to make it look better, as we even saw from Kamala Harris's 60-minute interview, is inauthentic. That's inauthentic. If you just have a hour-long conversation with somebody uninterrupted, that is what people are looking for. They want to see what you're about, not what the media wants to perceive what you're about. And that's what's going on. That's how the Democrats have had the mainstream media in their back pocket for years now. And the Donald Trump elections, both of them have proven that is the case now. But we'll get to some of these memes down here. Here we go. Yeah. Dems unveil plan to win back men by having gay guy grow a beard. Yeah, freaking Pete Buttigieg, that's good. The Babylon Bee absolutely crushes it, like always. They are so funny. I love it. Oh, man. See here, total following are the top right-leaning and left-leaning online shows. See, who's this from? Let's see here. Waleed Saeed. Most Democrats overlook the blue bubble influencers here. The left's The left's existing Joe Rogans are openly critical of the Democratic Party establishment. Hassan Piker, the Young Turks, Sam Cedar, Trevor Noah, I don't know who Medea is, Charlemagne, etc. The audience craves honesty and anti-system populism, not the DNC brand, which is true. All those people are heavily critical of the Democratic Party. That's why they don't want them. The Democrats literally pander to people who won't say a bad thing about them. So that's their problem. They're going to be looking for someone who goes, you can talk about whatever you want as long as you don't badmouth us. That's all they're going to be looking for. Absolutely ridiculous. Here we go. This guy, this is good. I love this one.
His favorite take after the election was, liberals need a liberal Joe Rogan to talk to all of these young men, right? What we need is a liberal podcast. 90% of podcasts are liberal podcasts. You guys know the ones that I'm talking about, right? They all sound the same, okay? They're all hosted by the same guy with the same voice. Every liberal podcast is like, you might think you know the history of the toboggan. But its backstory's a little more complicated than that. For the Anxious Whisper Pod, my name is Teardrop, and today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp for Dogs, everybody.
Pretty good. I like that. All right. Right here from Petty I guess I'll say Scheffler or whatever, news, Democrat megadonors are debating plans to spend tens of millions of dollars on a range of influencers' plans to find a liberal Joe Rogan. Democrats throw money at a problem, countering GOP's clout online. Yep, that's what we talked about. Like, so this is from, I mean, what is this from? Like the New Yorker or the Washington Post or something? Like, this is a real thing. Spending $20 million when, like, if you want to talk about being wasteful, like you talk about wasteful spending, the Democratic Party will waste $20 million on something that they could literally just go out and find a podcaster to be. There's already popular podcasters out there, which gets me to my next one that I'm pulling up right here, which is Hassan Piker. Except the problem is he badmouths the DNC from time to time. But like I said, the problem is now is like he's getting in real trouble because of how his extreme anti-Israel stance. But again, he literally is pro-Hamas. He has said he's pro-9/11. He's pro all this stuff. He said that he's glad that Dan Crenshaw lost his eye. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Dan Crenshaw, but I don't think the man should have lost his eye in combat or anything like that. But yeah, Hassan Piker is absolutely crazy, but he is probably the most popular left-wing streamer online right now. So let's check out this little this little video from CNN.
One thing we've been hearing for weeks now is that the left needs a Joe Rogan.
I don't think that the Democratic Party can podcast itself out of this issue. Joe Rogan, he endorsed Bernie Sanders in 2020. Maybe they should do an autopsy on why he left the party.
What is it that the Democrat Party has to do differently?
I think that they need to change their policies.
It's a policy thing.
Yes, it's 100% a policy thing.
Because
Which is the boring answer. Although it would be very self-serving for me to say, I'm the left's Joe Rogan, the Democratic Party should give me millions of dollars. That's not going to solve this problem. What will solve this problem is if the Democratic Party actually adopts real left-wing economic populist messaging instead of purposefully avoiding that stuff because they're terrified of upsetting their corporate donors. I think Trump speaks to male insecurities better, and I think Trump speaks to the anger that people have, whereas the other side of the political spectrum does not speak to that anger at all.
One thing we've been hearing for weeks.
Now, that assessment was not wrong. Now, adopting the left-wing populism, bad, because we know what happens when we adopt left-wing policies. Communism happens, and communism ruins everything, as we've seen from Venezuela, Russia, or I should say the Soviet Union, all these other nations that have tried this and have failed miserably. But he's not wrong. He diagnosed the problem correctly. It's like their messaging. They're not listening to the people. They're the elites. They are the sophisticated elites telling you dumb little plebs what to think and feel. That's what the Democratic Party is right now. That's what they've always been. But that's what's going on right there. He diagnosed it correctly, but right there, that's even the video where they said that, look, I'm getting MAGA fit. It's like, so again, being fit and in shape is being associated with the right wing because he's working out right there. And then it's that same little very soy twink looking guy that's interviewing everybody for CNN nowadays. What is it with the left? And so that's the other reason why they're not appealing to young men anymore. Is like Joe Rogan is a fit guy. Like all these other podcasters, like all of your other favorite male podcasters are generally like in shape, pretty fit, and do something like else, like as some type of physical activity, whether it's hunting, fighting, being in the military, skateboarding, whatever. They do something else that's fun and is something that men can relate to versus a guy like this. Guy sees a fat, kind of effeminate looking dude and goes, I don't really know if I relate to that guy on any level. And they don't emulate, they don't want to see that. Nobody wants to be the fat guy in the room. There's not a person that wants to be the fat guy in the room. But that's what's going on. It's like that's another reason why. It's like the Democrats have always been appealing for the last 10 years now, appealing to a more effeminate and LGBTQ type of man, not masculine, because masculine is seen as bad. Then here's this guy. This guy has a pretty good take on this, and then we'll probably just about wrap it up after this.
Working hard is not enough. So the blame game's going around right now, and Dems are looking out and saying, okay, maybe the podcast thing was something that we should have looked into a little bit more. And us on the left, the Dems, we need to find our own Joe Rogan, someone who's got millions and millions of followers, who's got a big platform and does podcasts, all that. Hey, guys. Joe Rogan is right in the middle. He's been a liberal, very democratic guy, basically a socialist his entire life. And he's even said, he goes, the last like 4 or 5 years, that's when I started to lean more just a little to the right. And he goes, I've always been in the middle, same with Elon Musk. And he said, the left has just gone so far left that my middle looks like it's to the right, which it isn't. So yeah, you guys had your own Joe Rogan. His name was Joe Rogan. You missed the boat. Working hard.
Yep, 100% the case. Simple diagnosis. You had him, but you couldn't bring him into the fold because he has too many differing views and you can't completely control him. Said if they can't completely control somebody, they don't want him, which tells you that they care more about power than they do about anything else. Like the right is a diverse group of, people and ideas. Right now, at least right now, it could easily have a paradigm shift in the next few years. But the left is, if you don't follow in lockstep in everything that we believe, you're excised from the party and you're not allowed in ever again. Maybe that'll change. Maybe that'll change 5-10 years from now. But as of right now, that's what's going on. And that's why they're losing so hard. But that's pretty much all I've got for today. This is Chad with Owasso Live. This was the Morning Loop. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so you too can stay in the loop. But that's pretty much all I've got for today. Said this is I won't catch you on the next one for like 2 weeks from now, basically. But I hope you all have a good one, and I'll see you on the next one.
Democrats are going to keep losing until they have their own Joe Rogan, their own Elon Musk, until they create their own alternative to Fox News. Oh my god, we need a liberal Joe Rogan. The left can't have a Joe Rogan, because everything that makes Joe Rogan, is not allowed on the left. Kamala Harris ditched Joe Rogan podcast interview over progressive backlash fears. So Joe Rogan was too problematic? But Liz Cheney was fine? Listen, you don't need a leftist Joe Rogan or liberal Joe Rogan. Democrats are going to keep losing until they have their own Joe Rogan, their own